All right, good morning/afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Marika, and this is the Pitching and Proposals webinar hosted by HoneyBook alongside Terry Rice today. So before we really get going here, though, just want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. So on the right side of the screen there, where I just posted a note a couple minutes ago, if you can just type in there, give me a hello, give me your name, anything just to let me know that you can hear me, and we will take it from there. Awesome. Okay, good couple notes coming in. So as I did mention in my note, I know it's a little ways up there now, but if any technical difficulties do arise for you along the way, hopefully we can avoid that, but do just try refreshing your browser or even logging in from a different one, and usually one of those two things resolves the problem. So hopefully we can avoid that today and just have smooth sailing. So all that said, we know that right now, sort of a difficult era that ranges from like surreal and weird for some of you to really, really difficult for others. So with all that in mind, this first webinar in our HoneyBook's 6-part series is designed to help you with business preparedness. So we're hosting these with industry experts like Terry to essentially help you take advantage of what we do have right now, which is maybe a little bit more time to do stuff, and use it to prepare yourselves and your businesses to hit the ground running when everything does kind of come back to life here. So make sure to register for those upcoming webinars that we have. I think we have a couple HoneyBook folks in the chat on the right-hand side of the screen, Katie and Lindsay, so maybe one of them can post a link to register for those other webinars in case you were interested in hearing what some of the other industry experts that we are working with have to say on the matter. Now today, we are talking about pitching and proposals, as we see on our screen here, and how to establish yourself as a business partner to your customers. So for that, we have brought in the expert, Terry Rice, business development expert, or business development consultant extraordinaire. And this webinar should run about an hour. So bear that in mind. Hopefully you've blocked off an hour today. And we have already discovered that right-hand side chat box there. That is a great place to ask questions. So we encourage you to ask questions there for Terry specifically and Terry's tips and tricks and best practices. Hopefully, again, we'll have about 10 minutes at the end to get through those. We will, of course, today also talk a little bit about how HoneyBook can help with some of the concepts that Terry discusses. So for any HoneyBook specific questions, like I said, we do have a couple folks in the chat that can help hopefully answer stuff on the fly, but we do also encourage you to join our breakout session right after this at 12:15 Pacific time, 3:15 Eastern time, in which we're going to review kind of step-by-step how to create and work with some of the HoneyBook features we talk about today, specifically brochures and proposals today. So if someone can chat out the link to that Zoom breakout session after this, hopefully many of you can join us for that. And finally, I've already seen a couple questions on this. Not to worry, this webinar is recorded. You can always come back to the link that you used to log in just now. The webinar replay will be available as soon as we wrap up, so you can always come back and check it out, and we'll send it out to you as well, hopefully within the next few days. So that will be at your fingertips. Not to worry if you zone out for a little bit or if that construction next door distracts you. I know we've all got a lot going on. You can always come back and check out the replay. All righty. That is enough out of me for the moment. I would like to pass this off now to Terry Rice, our business development expert. So Terry, take it away.
Hi, thank you so much for the introduction. And just to make sure before I get into it, can you all hear me okay? Can you see me okay? We good there? Going to take that as a yes. So I'll keep moving on here. But one thing I want to encourage you all to do is just to focus for this next hour. And I know we all have a lot going on right now, but I want you to shut down some of those folders that are already open in your head and just lock in for the next hour. One of my best tips for doing that is just to wiggle your toes right now. Remind yourself where you are and definitely take notes, but do be aware that this is being recorded. And I'm going to give you a link to get a copy of the deck directly from my website. So just focusing on being present, not necessarily trying to document everything that you see. All right. And along with those distractions, I have 3 kids here. I'm hoping none of them come barging in, but they might make an appearance. We'll see. But they like learning as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And once I do that, if you can just let me know if you can see that okay, that would be great as well. So let me do this. And if you can just let me know in the chat window, yes or no, if you can see my screen okay. And if so, I will go ahead and get rolling here. Cool. Looks like we're good. Sweet. So let's get going here. So yeah, as said previously, I'm a business development consultant. And what does that mean? I help knowledge-based entrepreneurs grow their business, right? I help with the way they're going to present yourself, the way you're going to structure your services, the way you're going to price them, and obviously how you're going to attract clients to you. But I want to make sure you're attracting the right clients that you want to work with. Then you're a friend of their future, right? And we'll talk about that later. And then beyond that, I'm also a business development expert in residence at Entrepreneur Magazine. And the fun part of that is I get to interview a lot of entrepreneurs. And then from there, I'll learn their best practices, try it out on myself. And if it works, I teach it to you as well, right? So I'm a conduit between some of these people that are like best in class at what they do and a larger audience. Before that, I worked at Facebook. I also worked at Adobe in consulting roles. So that's where I honed my craft as a consultant. And again, that's what I help people do as well to monetize their knowledge. Also a mentor at Techstars and the NYU Entrepreneur Institute. I also have my contact information here. Here's my social handles, Instagram. There's my email if you want to jot that down. One of the most important things to think about right now is if you want to get a copy of this deck, I made a bit.ly for you. It's just bit.ly /Rice, my last name, and then 430. All right. So if you want to screenshot this now, I will have it up later in the deck as well. But if you want to get this now, it's a good time to do so. But let's get rolling. So like I said, I help people monetize their knowledge. And one of the most common questions I get is this: how do I get more clients and how much should I charge? And yes, we want to get there, but it actually starts here. How are you reflecting an understanding of your audience's challenges or aspirations? Right? Because one of my favorite quotes is this: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So if you can't reflect that you actually care about them and understand them, they're not going to care about your rates or how you're packaging it, right? Then the next step is, what solution have you created that would make you their obvious choice? And this all comes from doing a deep research on your target audience, right? You don't want to just assume things, okay? So one way to reflect that understanding is this 3-step storytelling process. There's another good one to take a screenshot of, right? If you can tell this story of your audience, you're already in a really good spot to communicate with them better, where they'll want to learn more about your services. So the first step is, hey, you know how you're in this situation? Well, what I do is how you solve the problem or meet a desire. And in fact, here's proof of my expertise. 3 steps. This is all you need to do to show people that you understand them and you're positioned to help them solve the problem. Here's how it looks for me, all right? You know how it can be challenging to figure out the best way to launch and scale your consulting business? You want to help people, but the overall process can be extremely confusing and frustrating. Well, what I do is I help you focus on impact by discovering and implementing the critical steps aligned with your desired revenue and lifestyle. In fact, I've helped hundreds of consultants launch their careers and have helped established consultants increase their revenue by $50,000 in just 1 year. So you all need to have a general way to reflect this to your understanding, your audience as well. And you're going to have different variations, how you put it on your website, how you communicate in social media, how you talk in real person, person to person as well. But you have to have this nailed down. If you're struggling to complete this exercise, that means you need to do more research on your audience and how you're going to help them, because you should be able to rattle through this relatively quickly, right? So if you're struggling here, that's fine. But you got to go back and say, okay, well, let's see, like, how do I better reflect my understanding of their audience and how I can help them, right? So 3 simple steps. Another thing you want to do is create a positioning statement. This is not an elevator pitch. This is a very succinct statement where you're saying, I am a, whatever your title is, I help this specific audience, so they know you're talking to you, achieve this specific outcome, all right? So I help this audience achieve this specific audience. And the reason why you want to say this succinctly is you want to get to the point quickly, to the point where people are like, oh, tell me more about this, right? So it's not an elevator pitch. And I'm sure you've had that happen. You're at a networking event and someone gives you their elevator pitch and you're like, can you like blink or like stop making eye contact for a second or something? You don't want to be that person, right? You just want to get to the point. Here's what mine looks like. I am a business development consultant, and I help entrepreneurs and consultants monetize their knowledge so they can grow their business without sacrificing their health, family, or personal interests. Now, that last part is unique because often you meet coaches who are like, oh, I'm going to push you to your limits. I'm going to make you do this and that. You're going to, burn the midnight oil and hustle harder. I'm like, man, I don't have time for that because I have 3 kids. So I have to be as efficient as possible with my time. And I want to have more time to spend with my kids, my health, and any kind of other personal interests. So that's who I want to attract. I want to show you how to do these things as efficiently as possible so you can also do that without sacrificing your health, your family, your personal interest, right? So I'm really big on focusing on impact, and that's why I want to attract to me. I want to say, look, there's no reason you can't be happy with your business life and still fulfilled in your personal life as well. Let me show you the way, right? Let me show you how I do it. And lately, the way I've been doing it is I've been waking up at 4:30 in the morning so I can get my most important work done before one of my 3 kids wakes up. So in those 2 hours that I have in the morning, I'm super efficient. And that's the way I would teach my clients to behave as well. Hopefully you're not waking up at 4:30 in the morning, but it is what it is. Now let me help you make it easier, right? Or at least clearer. That's the way I position myself. And if you go to my website, same thing. I say, get paid for who you are instead of just what you do, because the value of your knowledge is contextual. And I want to show you how to scale the amount you're getting paid based on the situation you're in. So if you're a consultant, maybe I can help you also get paid speaking gigs or how to monetize it through an online course. But then I go back to saying exactly what I do. I help entrepreneurs and consultants monetize their knowledge. So on your website, again, you want to declare this statement. You want to have a picture of yourself looking at something aspirationally as well. Don't just hide behind a logo or something, but you're building a personal brand in this case, right? No matter what you do, if you're a photographer, if you're a wedding planner, whatever it is, you're a personal brand. And this is how you're going to make that first initial connection with them. Being very clear on who you are, right? So you also have to clearly define your process. All right. And here's where you might run into trouble. Since you're an expert, you're like, oh, all these things are obvious. They don't need all these details. Yes, they do. You want to detail the sequential steps that lead them to where they want to be and reflect an understanding of all the challenges along the way. Right. So pretend like they're at step A. How do you get them to their desired outcome? But don't gloss over the details, because even if they already know some of that stuff, they're going to say, good, I'm glad you know this. Now tell me more. All right. So don't skip over the details. Because I've talked to people before where I'm like, what do you do? Like, well, it kind of depends. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I do that. And other times I'm like, look, just what do you do? Like I understand it depends, and that's fine. But if you don't seem very clear on how you get someone from A to B, no one's going to want to align with you, right? Sure, you're going to shift and you're going to make it bespoke. That's fine. You should say, here's where I start. Now, how can I make it specific to you? Let's talk. Let me ask some questions. So have a very clearly defined process. And I have some people, especially creatives, they're like, I don't like being defined in a box with process. And I say, you know what? Process gives you the freedom to be creative. And here's why. Let's pretend you're doing like a dance competition. You're doing like the cha-cha or whatever. There are certain steps aligned with the cha-cha that you have to do in order for it to be declared, yes, that's the cha-cha. But as long as you adhere to those things, you can get as creative as you want. And that's how you win the competition. But if you start doing like the electric slide or something, people are going to say, dude, that is not the cha-cha, you lost, right? So the benefit of having a process is so long as you follow those steps, you can get as creative and bespoke as you would like to, right? So it's not going to take away your creativity. It's going to give you these guardrails to make sure you still reach the desired outcome that your audience is looking for, right? So this is my process for when I'm helping people launch their consulting business or scale it or any kind of knowledge-based service. Follow what I'm saying, because you need to have the same thing, the same 5, 6, 7 bullet points to take them from point A to point B, right? So these are my 5 pillars of consulting success. The first thing is clarity, right? We're going to nail down the services you offer, how much you charge, who you offer them to, and why you're the obvious choice. Next thing, business process. I want to help you focus on doing what you love by implementing routines and apps such as HoneyBook to help you streamline your business process, right? This is really big because you want to operate in your zone of genius, and maybe sending out proposals and following up afterwards is not your zone of genius, right? You're really good at some kind of consulting or really good at photography. Cool, let's use an app like HoneyBook to solve for that. So you can spend more time operating in your zone of genius. Then there's marketing and branding, right? How do you position yourself and provide value to your audience and do what I call passive prospecting, which we'll get more into later, through events, podcasts, and social media. Next thing, pitching proposals. We're going to talk about that a lot today, so I'll gloss over that one. And then lastly, fulfillment. How do you deliver on the promises you made to your audience? That's from onboarding, that's from how you schedule calls or meetings or events, because the goal here is for you to get more clients through referrals and testimonials. So whatever this looks like for you, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's got to be super clear in layman's terms so anyone can look at it and say, I want that. So if you don't have this documented yet on your website, this is additional homework for you to do, right? Because guess what? When you're going through, let's call it your pitch, I call them enrollment calls, this is all you're doing. People say, how can you help me? You just go through this. That's it, right? So after that, you're on your merry way. And at the end, you say, would you like my help? All right? That's all you got to do. All right, so I'm going to take a break from talking, and I'm going to turn it back over to Marika to give you a great demo of how HoneyBook can help you with this process.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry, for getting us started there. First of all, I absolutely love the term zone of genius. I think that is exactly where we're trying to get you guys. And as Terry said, that is really where HoneyBook is trying to put you, help you to kind of solve for all of those small little business nitty-gritty things that really no one loves doing, to actually help you have time for that zone of genius stuff. I think we should steal that. You guys, HoneyBook, whoever's listening, love that term. So there are a few ways, particularly, that HoneyBook helps with some of the things that Terry was just talking about. In particular, again, the process pillar. So like everything process related in conjunction with branding. So there's a number of avenues in HoneyBook that offer a platform to showcase your branding and your positioning that you create, that Terry mentioned in there as well, in the form of a repeatable process. And it all kind of helps with the fulfillment pillar as well, in a way that, you know, streamlining your process helps you do. It helps you manage those client relationships and deliver on your promises really easily. So let me open up my screen here so we can take a look at what's going on. All right. Hope y'all don't mind. I'm gonna toggle my video off so you guys can see this clearly. All right, so a feature that is particularly helpful to establishing your processes while also showcasing your value is the brochure file in HoneyBook. So that's what you're looking at right now. This is actually what your clients will see when you send them a brochure, or a version of what your clients will see. Now, a lot of people think of the HoneyBook brochure file as kind of a version of what, you know, in the broader world is thought of as a proposal, quote unquote. That's because even though it's flexible enough to serve a bunch of different functions, one of the main ones is that it does let you showcase and list out your menu of services, which I'm trying to get back to my screen so I can scroll down so we can see. So you can list out your menu of services, and then it actually allows your potential client to pick out what they're interested in and send it back to you. So this sort of tallies everything up. So maybe they want, you know, package A, basic package. And then we also have, in this particular case, a few additional items that we can send. So we want 2 of these, great, great. And this actually sort of tallies everything up for your client in this review at the bottom. So we can kind of see how this serves as the quote unquote proposal, in that it gives them that kind of cost estimate without actually committing them to anything via a payment or a signature. So this file in particular helps you communicate the value and the branding that you've created that Terry mentioned. You can obviously make it beautiful and branded, scrolling all the way up, sorry, with some great imagery, text, colorful, you know, colors, whatever matches your brand. There's my face, you'll make that yours. So you can really use this to present your business story, your bio, and then also your services. So your people know what they're getting, or your customers know what they're getting right off the bat when you send this off. Now, this also helps you establish a process for yourself and do that efficiently. Efficient is a word that Terry used a bunch in that first section, and rightfully so. It is a really important adjective. So sending a brochure file is an early step in your process as you're showcasing what you offer. Obviously, as we see, you can include those services that potential clients can select. So this both saves you the trouble of needing to send a bunch of emails back and forth to your client or have unnecessary phone calls with them. So it saves you that trouble. And then also, once your client submits this, which I'm going to actually do right now, what this does, if you're using HoneyBook, is it creates a HoneyBook proposal file. Now, a HoneyBook proposal file is a little bit different than what you think of when you think of a normal proposal. In HoneyBook, a proposal is actually an invoice and a contract wrapped up into one file. So actually, we can see this right here. I'm in the project, which is what we call them in HoneyBook when we have something created for a particular client. And we see here that I've sent the brochure. That's the brochure that I just submitted from the client side. And then we see, oops, not this one. We see an actual proposal as well, which I just clicked into the wrong file, like you do. But it actually creates a new file for you with those selections that your client selected so that I don't need to actually do that myself. So we can see that basic packages that they selected along with those additional items. So in the way of process, this is incredibly efficient. It saves you that whole kind of middleman step of needing to talk to them about what they want. You just send them the file, they submit what they're interested in, and then HoneyBook creates this file for you automatically. So everything is streamlined. This doesn't get sent to them automatically, so you can always come in, review, change if you need before you send it. But then if you don't need to, you don't need to, and you can just send it off. Now, I would also like to make a really quick note. I'm not going to go too deep into these, but just to quickly touch on it, taking a step back, you can even use a couple other HoneyBook tools to automatically send these brochures to your clients who express interest in them with no additional work required from you. So to do that, we have in our tools section a contact form, which allows people to submit their interest via a website or however you've shared that contact form. And then you can even set up an automated workflow to automatically send that brochure out. So again, streamlines that whole process, really speak to that process pillar of what Terry was talking about. So now that's our first kind of touch on HoneyBook for the day. I would like to pass it back to Terry to talk about another key piece of your business process that he'd already mentioned a little bit, that passive prospecting. So I'm going to close my screen now, and Terry, take it away for your next section.
Right. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. And if someone could just let me know, again, you can see my screen okay? We're good? It's going to assume we are. Cool. Thank you very much. Awesome. So passive prospecting, this is how I prefer to attract clients, right? And by passive prospecting, I mean putting yourself in a position where people are exposed to you, recognize your expertise, and then reach out to you, right? Because like a lot of you, I don't like doing cold calls. It's just not my thing. It never has been. So what I do is I put myself in a position to attract people to me who want to learn more about my services through the content I put out there. So let's go into what this actually looks like. It can be something as simple as answering questions your audience has with content. So on social media, through articles, through video, because what's going to happen is people are going to reach out to you and say, hey, I saw you did this post about, ways that consultants should price their services. I got a question, can you talk to me about this? Because I've been struggling with that a lot, right? So you're showing yourself as an authority figure on these things. If you were saying, wow, this person has the answer to these questions, I'd like to learn more. And this is the part where you really want to lean into, because you have to become a personal brand to an extent, not in a way that feels cheesy, like you're chasing likes or followers, but just by saying like, look, I have to become an authority in my industry. And I'm not looking for 100,000 followers. I'm looking for 100 people that value the information I have and will pay me for my services. So when I say personal branding, it's not like, getting a blue check mark on Instagram or things like that. It's you establishing who you are, your zone of expertise, and your personality that goes along with it as well. Another way is just speaking at conferences or relevant organizations or on podcasts. But before you do that, this is super important. Please write this down. You have to have documented your signature speaking topics. What are topics that you can get on stage, on webinars, and talk about that are relevant to your target audience while also expressing your point of view, right? So for me, I talk a lot about mindset training and how that's the unique differentiator between entrepreneurs that are successful and ones that maybe aren't as successful as they could be. So it's called Your Guide to Aligning with an Entrepreneurial Mindset. And I talk about my personal philosophy, which is to be purpose-driven, prepared, and patient. So when you have this content ready, these topics ready, all of a sudden people are saying, hey, can you tell me more about that? Or can you speak at our webinar about this? And then you're attracting people to you, right? So again, anytime that you can actually show your personality a bit more through this content you're creating, you're building that brand. Also, if you can teach or do a guest lecture, even at a local college, that's a really good way to get in front of your target audience. When I first started consulting, I still do teach at a school called General Assembly, which teaches the skills of tomorrow. And I know some people that I've taught there actually in this webinar now. So hi, Jonathan, I see you there. And as a result of that, I'm in front of people for like 3 hours, teaching them about Facebook marketing. And then from there, they would say, hey, can you help me individually? So you got to put yourself in a position to do this, right? Maybe just reach out to a local college and say, hey, I see you're teaching, this course on photography. Do you ever have guest instructors come in? I have a unique way of using filters to change the way like the light shows up, right? So then you're in front of these adult learners who may eventually want to work with you and pay for your services, or at least you're getting the social proof to post it on your website saying, look, NYU asked me to come in and talk about this. This is one of the easiest ways you can get clients. So please don't sleep on this part, right? What signature topics do you have that you can discuss to get in front of your target audience, preferably through a third party, such as, a local college or another organization like that. If you do this, everything else becomes easier because people are reaching out to you saying, hey, how can you help me specifically based on what they've already heard? Okay. So hopefully I harped on that one enough. So back to content, right? I know this part can seem overwhelming. You're like, Terry, where do I even start? Like, I know I'm supposed to be a brand and I'm supposed to have this content out there and like use hashtags and all this random stuff. Can you just boil it down for me and make it simple? Yes, sure, I can. That's my job. Here's all you have to do to get started. Think of 10 questions your audience has. So let's pretend you're a sleep consultant. Some questions they might have could be, what's the best pillow to use to go to sleep? What should be the temperature of the room when you're trying to go to sleep? Should I have a drink before I go to sleep? Answer that one's debatable at this time. But to the point, you have to answer these 10 common questions your audience has, and you only know that by doing the research, right? So you can't do this without doing the research. And then answer them with content. That's it. Think of 10 questions your audience has, and then answer them with content. Questions become content. You're going to say, well, this person gets me. They understand me. Now I want to learn more about them and how they can help me specifically, right? As a result, this can also get you on those stages, on those webinars, on those podcasts, right? So again, this is passive prospecting. You're not begging someone, pick me, choose me, love me, or whatever the Sex and the City reference is. Somewhat admitting I watched it, but that's what you do. And then people come to you and now you're in a position of more authority because I've sought you out as opposed to the other way around, right? Passive prospecting. And here's a great example of that. I wrote an article for Entrepreneur Magazine about how to figure out your rates as a consultant, and I turned that into a social media post. So get in the habit of writing content and then repurposing on social media. If you have those 10 pieces of content, you now have 2.5 months worth of content already done for both your website and social media. So keep it simple. Now, here's the thing. You might say, Terry, someone already wrote about that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm, just repeating, what they've already said or just, not chiming in with something specific or unique. Yeah, you know what? Someone has probably already created the content that you want to put out there, right? And that's totally fine because your personality is the unique differentiator, right? It's not necessarily the information you're delivering. It's your twist on it, right? What are your thoughts on it? How do you express that in your day-to-day, so on and so forth. So don't feel like you have to sit around twirling your thumbs trying to come up with something unique. Focus on something relevant, right? That's how you develop your personal brand, right? So please do, consider what kind of content you put out there. So going deeper into that, you can also have what are called content buckets. And this is the content you're going to talk about consistently on your website, through your social media. And it's going to have this theme that you keep on repeating over and over again to reinforce who your brand is. You're not someone one day and a different person the other day. And my themes are this: business development, because that's my job, kind of have to. It's also fitness, because I feel like that's the path to success, right? Your mental and your physical fitness, by the way. It's not just, staying in shape at the gym. I also talk about mindset a lot. And as a function of that, I get on stages just talking about mindset quite often. Right. And that's a part of my business. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. If they work with me, let's work on your tactics and your mindset. And then my personality, which is mostly dad jokes, because I'm 41 years old and have 3 kids. So that's what I do all day. Right. So develop this personal brand that makes sense for you. One of them has to be specific to what you do. But then you should also show some personality as well. What are your hobbies? What are your interests? So on and so forth. And here's an example of that. This is me speaking at South by Southwest. And every time someone speaks at a big conference, they always say, oh, I had a great time speaking at this conference, which is really just like a humble brag. Normally what I do is I talk about what I learned at the conference. Or if I did give a speech, here's my key takeaways. But don't just like brag about yourself, because no one's going to necessarily engage with that. But if you say, here's like my 2 or 3 key takeaways from talking or speaking at South by Southwest, then that's actually more interesting to people and they want to engage with that. So anyways, this is an example of me just showing who I am on social media in a more humble way. Other thing here is you absolutely need a lead magnet. This is going to be a non-negotiable. And a lead magnet is some kind of incentive that you offer people in exchange for their contact information. It's one of the most powerful pieces of content that you can create. So if you don't have one already, please get on that. Examples, it could be a free template to pitch yourself on podcasts, your guide to acquiring and leveraging a virtual assistant, or how to homeschool your children during COVID. If anyone has that last one ready, please do send it to me because I am in trouble right now. Here's what mine looks like on my website. It's the 10 biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make on social media and what you should do instead. Why? Because that's the audience I want to attract. So I'm saying, okay, I know you're all busy doing social media and that's your goal to, get in front of your audience. Here are the 10 biggest mistakes that people make and how you can avoid them, right? So please, I'm going to repeat that. This is a non-negotiable. You need to have a lead magnet that provides value to your target audience, all right? Now, the benefit of having a lead magnet is you can use it for cold outreach should you choose to. You can reach out to someone on LinkedIn and say, hey, by the way, it looks like, you're an entrepreneur and I see you're busy on social media. I have this PDF. Here's a link to it that'll show you the 10 biggest mistakes that people make and what you should do instead. In this case, I'm saying, hey, I noticed that you run a retail business here in Brooklyn. I have this handy guide, 5 ways non-experts can leverage social media to increase foot traffic. You can download it now, right? So you need something. You have to front load this valuable content. So in moments, even when you're on, like, again, a podcast or a webinar, you can say, hey, go to my website right now, download this guide, right? So please front load yourself for success by creating this valuable lead magnet. And again, luckily, HoneyBook is a great tool to let you easily capture contact information once people are exposed to that. So I'm going to turn it right back over to Marika for another amazing demo. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And turn it back over to you.
Sweet. My turn. Okay. In looking at the chat, I realized that I got a little excited coming into this webinar. I hope you guys all were too, but I sort of neglected to give the overview of what HoneyBook was and why we can kind of help. So just really, really quickly, HoneyBook is an all-in-one platform to help you manage your business. That is a very broad overview of what it is. I know a lot of our HoneyBook folks in the chat have been answering some specific questions, but to some of their points, people use it as a CRM. People use it for invoicing, getting contracts e-signed, kind of keeping everything related to various clients and the various projects with each of those clients in one place. So it is very, very process oriented, really helping you kind of hone all of that we've sort of been talking about already. So I'm sorry that I didn't begin with that. Totally my bad. I was a little hyped up on too much coffee. But yes, largely to help you with your process, organization, and all sorts of good stuff. And again, if you're interested in learning a little bit more, we are having that breakout session right after this, so we can ask a little bit more on the HoneyBook focused questions. So back to what Terry was talking about, a key element that we are once again going over is developing not only that sort of broad business process, but also building out the specific framework for various points in your business life cycle, it seems. And then how that framework increases your efficiency. So your content strategy, for example, that we were just talking about, allows you to have that framework for your content in place. So when you do need to create that new stuff, makes it easier, more efficient to do that, and then makes it easier to leverage that content in a way that makes sure you're working smarter and not harder. So thinking about extending those principles to your business as a whole, a few of the other features that HoneyBook, again, lots of process there, a few other features are worth mentioning. So I'm gonna pop back in to share my screen once more. Here we go. Okie dokie. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is one of the things that HoneyBook has that offers you is the ability to manage your calendar. So I'm going to head to my calendar right here, and specifically, one of the super duper cool things that we have is a scheduling tool. So our scheduling tool allows you essentially to create a few different kinds of meetings. So if you think about your business, what are a few types of meetings that you have regularly? Maybe you have a consultation call as a first step. You have a planning session somewhere in there. Maybe that's via video. And then maybe, eventually when this all kind of eases up, you have, an in-person session. Maybe you're a photographer. You have an engagement photo session that's in person, a couple hours. So what the scheduling tool allows you to do is create those few different kinds of meetings, the framework for each of those, and then actually set availability for each of them. So if I hop into one of these, assuming my internet doesn't totally leave us in the dust here, are you guys having this trouble working from home? Ugh, it's just the worst. So within each of these meeting types, which we call session types in HoneyBook, you're able to set a few details for it. So the name of the session, how it takes place, etc. And then actually set up the availability for that session. So maybe for this consultation call, I really only want to be able to have these like Monday through Friday, maybe even like before noon, but let's just say Monday through Friday. So right now we can see that my availability has a Saturday time slot. I can just remove that, apply it to all my Saturdays. I don't want to take these on Saturdays moving forward. So I remove and save that. So now I have a new session type, my consultation call. It is available to be booked Mondays through Fridays at those time slots that I set up. And what I can actually do is send a link, which I have right here. So I can copy my link there and then send that link out to my clients. So they will see a screen just like this. This obviously I have not refreshed this to say no Saturdays, but they'll see a screen really similar to this that will reflect both the availability you set up and the availability in your actual calendar. So like if I have a dentist appointment from 9 to 10, that slot won't be available. So me as the client, I'm looking at this screen and I can say, great, I want to come in on, next Thursday at 9:30. They fill out their information and they submit that back to me. And that will go right back on my calendar. It will go on their calendar as well. They can add it to theirs. So this does a lot of things, right? First of all, this increases efficiency incredibly. Have you ever tried to find a mutually convenient time for a phone call over email? I am sure you have. We all have that. Can you do 9 a.m. tomorrow? No, I can't. Wait, did you mean Pacific or Eastern time? Back and forth a million times. This is better. It is a one-stop shop. They can just pick a time for you. So obviously this improves your process, this improves your efficiency, and it helps you stand out because of that. This showcases your professionalism without being kind of over the heads of anyone, right? Pretty simple process. They can just pick a time for that meeting that works for them, which also, by the way, implies that you're working within their schedule as well as their own, making them feel like you're in a team in this together, that sort of business partner element. And then, of course, being able to drive home your personal brand that we've already talked about a bunch is going to be so much more effective with live meetings or even phone calls. Your personality can shine over the phone or over video chat, eventually one day in person as well, so much more than over email. So we are talking about that process, having that framework in place. This makes it exponentially easier to get time on the calendar with folks, helps you, again, drive your personal brand home, and just makes life easier. We all need more time back. We need that efficiency. This is one way to do it. Now, the other feature that I wanted to talk about really quickly is actually just kind of a cool addition from an efficiency standpoint that I wanted to call out, and that is the HoneyBook mobile app. So again, we've talked about how HoneyBook helps you with your process, helps you with your efficiency. You can do all of that, most of that through the mobile app. So for example, you can stand out by responding really fast with files or emails that you just send from the mobile app. You can quickly send an email or file from scratch, or just select a template that you've created in advance. So we have that option as well. You can create like email templates for language you use regularly, or file templates for like invoices that you send really similar versions of over and over, things like that. So this little GIF here shows an example of just selecting an email template and sending that off to a client. Now, this is beneficial both for you, easy to do that, but also people who respond quickly and consistently to their clients gain the trust of their customers. They feel like a priority again. You're building that relationship. So that is really important, obviously. And responding fast, if you're doing so kind of at the beginning of a relationship with a client, that can help you book more business just off the bat here. So this GIF here shows you sending an actual invoice. So I don't need to get up from the couch to go to my computer to do this. Again, one day it won't need to be, when I get home from being on a commute. All you need to do is just do this from your phone, send an invoice template, and you can get booked right away. So again, really important in increasing efficiency. Everything you need is at your fingertips. You can respond from everywhere. No need to set a reminder to respond when you see that email from a client come in. Wait until you get home to do it. Or again, maybe wait until you move from couch to computer. And then templates, again, are your kind of go-to when creating that core framework for your business and increasing that efficiency. And you can even send those scheduling links that we just saw. So if you ever need to set up that phone call with a client, you can do that really easily from the mobile app as well. So we can kind of see here in the GIF, really quickly inserting that link that we just created, sending that off for the client for them to pick a time. And then just finally, not much in the way of efficiency, but just super fun. You get awesome notifications, great attitude boosting notifications, which we all need right now, telling you right away when an inquiry comes in, someone's interested in working with you, or when an action has been taken on a file, someone signed a contract, or best of all, get a great cha-ching notification when somebody pays. So the app is great in the way of efficiency. It's not to build your process, but it is to enhance it. It makes it easier to implement that process from wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Okay, so once more on the process, I'm going to pass it back off to Terry for his final section on some kind of process and communication tips. So I'm going to close out my screen here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And, on the topic of scheduling, I want you to all be very strategic about how you use that. Because normally what I do is I have the back 2 hours of my day blocked off for enrollment calls, or maybe you call them prospecting calls, which we're going to get into right now. But if you're doing an event, like you're on that webinar, you're doing that speaking engagement, I highly encourage you to have additional availability the following 2 days that we can say, hey, tomorrow I have open for any kind of prospecting calls. Go ahead and book it right now. Right. But if you only have 2 hours available and you're standing in front of 100 people, you're almost, you're self-constraining your funnel. Right. So just plan this stuff out in advance. I have this big thing I'm doing on Wednesday. Make sure you have plenty of availability Thursday and Friday. Right. Cool. So let's go ahead and hop into this permission-based pitching. So you're doing all this cool stuff to grow your brand, to provide value. People are going to reach out to you to say, how can you help me? Right. And that's why you want to be prepared for that. And I'm going to give you a 5-step process for how to have these calls. The first thing you say, okay, well, what challenges are you facing and what's the impact that you're seeing from it? Right? Do not fall for this trick. Do not just start rattling off what you do. If someone asks you, hey, Katie, what do? You would just quickly say, well, I help entrepreneurs and consultants monetize their knowledge. It could be through consulting. It could be through paid speaking gigs, maybe an online course. But really it would help you if you just told me what's going on, the challenges you have, and the impact it's having as well. Push it back to them as quickly as possible and then listen. Having trouble listening? That's fine. Wiggle your toes, okay? But the more you learn about their problems, the better you can position yourself afterwards. Then you're going to say, well, what have you already done to try to solve that? What are some resources you may not be using? And the last one here is, what would need to happen for you to feel good about the results I delivered? Super important. So take a screenshot here if you want to get the deck here. What would need to happen for you to feel good about the results I delivered? And they'll tell you everything you need to know to win the business if you're a good fit, right? But here's the thing. Even if you're the buyer, always be the buyer, even when you're pitching. Okay. And by that, I mean, your job is you want to be a friend of this person's future. So you don't want to work with someone who you don't like that much, but can actually afford your rates. Right. So just because someone says yes doesn't mean you have to. Right. So even as the seller, you're still going to be the buyer. Do you want to work with them as well? And then beyond that, if it seems like you'll take any client that comes your way, you're projecting lack and a scarcity mindset, which will take away from your credibility. So don't say yes to every client who says, okay, where can I sign up? Make sure it feels right. And how can you tell? You'll have that feeling in your gut. Like, you know what? I don't want to work with this person. Like, I don't know why. I just don't want to. And when you feel that, just make the right decision in that moment and say, you know what? I'm not going to sign up for this because the next 2, 3, 4, whatever months are going to be miserable if I have to talk to this person. And I know right now it's tough because, like, Terry, everything's going crazy with the economy. I say we dig in even more and say, no, if I have to interrupt my day from like watching my kids or maybe not working out, I want to do it with someone I enjoy speaking with. Because I want that to be a respite from all the craziness going on. I want to enjoy that time. I don't want to do it with someone that I worked with just because they can afford my rates. So be even more reserved about who you decide to work with during this time. And then the last question you would say, if you want to help, it is, would you like my help? You always ask on the call. Don't say, well, I can send you some stuff. Nope, just ask. They'll either say yes, they'll say no, or they'll say, well, I have some more questions, but don't leave any kind of ambiguity there, right? And then if they say yes, boom, you push that button in HoneyBook and you can get a proposal over to them. I've timed myself. It's taken me less than 2 minutes, right? And I'm not worried about typos because with intent, I created all this content in advance, right? So you spend a couple hours setting this stuff up. It's even less for you to actually execute. But if you want to like handwrite all these bespoke emails, it's going to take you a couple hours. But you know what? There's this compound effect where over time you get that time back because you're so much more quickly, efficiently getting these emails out, right? Last question, would you like my help? Yes, cool. I'll have this over minutes. You can do that while you're watching your kids, right? Because you have all this process set up in advance. So the last thing I'll talk about is proposals. And I want to say up front, don't go crazy with the content you have included in your proposals. A lot of the details probably should have came out in conversation, right? So don't just start doing stuff in your proposal. Just recap what you talked about, right? So this is going to help you get things out quicker. And if they have questions, they'll say, oh, can you change this? Can you give me more information on that? Don't feel like you only have one shot. There's proposals I've sent out that I actually copied from someone else and sent out, and they say, this looks good, but this is actually not your name. I'm like, good call, right? But they still worked with me. They didn't say, hey, man, we're done. They just said, could you just put your name on here instead of whoever you copied this from? I was like, all right, well, fair game. I can do that. So again, if they're aligned with you, they'll forgive even some of these little hiccups or some of the things that, maybe you didn't include in the proposal. Really important, though. Ask if anyone else needs to see it before they can sign off, because this can be a roadblock. If the person you're talking to on the phone is like, yeah, this sounds great, send me a proposal, and then all of a sudden they get back to you like, well, my boss saw it and he wants to know more about this, or she wants to know more about that, right? So if you're like, does someone else need to see it? Because in that case, I will include more details. And just ask what they want to see in a proposal, because maybe you do have to change it a little bit, but content should be included. So like I said, time kills deal, right? And you want to make it as easy as possible for them to go ahead and sign this contract, right? You don't want to say, oh, here's this PDF. Now I just need you to print that, sign it, or scan. That's also friction, right? It's like, look, I just want to work with you. I don't want to become an expert at office stuff. Easy as possible for them to go ahead and sign that. And again, that's why I love HoneyBook, because I'm just pushing buttons and I'm gone. And then afterwards, you see the whole progress of them viewing the proposal, them signing the contract, and you hear that cha-ching sound, which is amazing. You're like, cool, I was just sitting here, playing with my daughter, and I just got paid. So yes, you can, get some extra stuff from Seamless now because Dad just got a new contract. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that back over. So Marika, if you want to go ahead and close us out here.
All right, cool. So proposals, we've talked a little bit about this now. Again, a phrase that Terry uses that I just love so much is time kills deals. So right, so right. So with that in mind, HoneyBook actually has what we call proposals to allow you to send that one file within minutes, like Terry said, to get that booked and to get everything going. So I'm going to share my screen one final time here so that we can see what our proposals look like. Okie dokie. So what we're looking at is basically the proposal that got created when I submitted that brochure earlier. So remember, we have that brochure file that allows clients to select what they're interested in, and then it automatically creates this proposal file in HoneyBook. So what this is, again, I know this has been talked about in chat a little bit, is a combination of an invoice and a contract in one file. So this shows your client exactly what they're paying for up here at the top, gives them the total. And then when they're going through this on their end, they actually have the ability to pay right through this file from any device, from a computer, from a phone, whatever they need, and sign that contract. So like Terry said, you don't need to say, print this out, send it back to me. All they need to do is do this from any device from this one file. So once again, having this type of file at all in place helps you stand out because it proves your professionalism by looking and actually being incredibly put together. It lets you leave that whole mess of documents behind. You don't need a whole bunch of different platforms to get paid and to get signatures, in a bunch of different places. Clients can just review that payment schedule and make their payments and e-sign all from one file. And then of course, like with everything else in HoneyBook, these files allow you to brand them. So we can add our beautiful imagery, we can add our logos, title these whatever we need, and then of course, list out these services, make some beautiful descriptions and whatever makes the most sense for you. So it really helps you prove your worth as a business, prove your brand, showcase your brand, even as you're getting paid and getting those signatures going. And then once they actually make that payment and add that signature, everything will be tracked in HoneyBook once again. So it makes it super easy to follow up. So I know Terry mentioned those follow-ups a little bit. So you can just see if they've signed, see if they've paid, and maybe even use some of those email templates. We've talked about having all of those built out to follow up with your client when you need to, instead of needing to start those emails from scratch every time. And then really quickly, just to quickly touch on the final or the other features that we talked about that help level up your process of communication. Brochures, once again, your kind of number one process element for showcasing your services and your brand. And then if you have a sec, do check out that contact form and workflow setup that can even send those brochures out automatically. That scheduling tool to drive home your personal brand by getting meetings on the books and doing that in a way that showcases how professional you are and saves everyone a whole lot of time and frustration. And of course, that mobile app, which lets you respond fast, respond from anywhere, and easily use any of those file or email templates that you've already created to do so. Okay, I think that's it from the HoneyBook side. Terry, did you have anything that you wanted to close out with?
Absolutely. So let me share my screen one more time here. And these are my final thoughts and just some next steps to consider here. First of all, don't let a lost deal impact your self-worth. Right? It's going to happen to all of us. But what you want to do is keep track of all the praise you received. And remember that you can provide the right solution to the right audience. So I actually have a folder in my Gmail of just testimonials or praise just to kind of hype myself up whenever I need to. Because you cannot show up as the best version of yourself if you let a few lost deals get you down, right? And here's the mindset you should have. Attract the right audience by providing value in solving their problems first. And then once you book a client, perform at a level that would encourage them to offer a testimonial or make a referral, but don't do that at the cost of your health, your relationships, or other outside interests. Last thing here, get ready for my pitch. Here it goes. I offer both individual and group consulting services if you want to learn more about that. And here's all the stuff I can help you with. Get more leads, determine your product service offering, as well as your content strategy, all that good stuff. And last thing I'll say is if you do sign up for a paid version of HoneyBook using my affiliate link, which I'll pop in momentarily, you'll also get a free 1-hour session of consulting. So here's the link to my website. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and turn that right back over to Marika.
Cool. So we only have a couple minutes left here. Hopefully this was a lot of great content for you guys. I wanted to close out by pitching some questions to Terry that have come in over the course of this. I know our HoneyBook experts have been answering the HoneyBook specific stuff, but a couple have come in that I think Terry would be much better equipped to answer in the expert position that he is. So first of all, Jonathan asked, do you have any other examples of people that you think are doing a great job at positioning and pitching themselves? Oh, and I think you're muted. I'll unmute you. There we go. You're unmuted.
Yeah, one of my mentors, actually, this guy's name is Mike Koenigs, Koenigs. He actually has a history in the film industry. So he just knows all about like positioning yourself and presenting yourself in the best possible light. So I would take a look at him because he just puts so much intent in regards to what he's doing. I would definitely explore him and the way he positions himself on social media and on his website.
Cool. All right. That sounds like a great one. And then Katrina asked, Katrina, I might ask you to clarify this question just because I'm not an expert in this, but Katrina asked, lead magnet is to create an opt-in email, correct? It's not to go on a website.
Well, it would go on your website, and it's a way for you to grow your email list. So you're saying, hey, if you want this valuable guide, submit your email address. And then from there, you can go ahead and do some kind of lead nurturing with the goal of getting them to convert eventually.
Awesome. And then, guys, if you have any last minute questions, we still have a couple minutes left here, so feel free to keep them coming for Terry. But Samantha did ask, authenticity is so important these days. Very true. Do you still recommend putting a personal touch on all emails?
I would say so, but what does authentic mean to you? Like, how do you normally express yourself? And as long as you're showing up as your true authentic self, that's fine. For me, sometimes I'm very curt. I'm like, look, I got to get this email out. Like, I'm not going to say, hey, how are you doing? Because like that's, kind of trite at this point. So I would say yes, but you define what authentic is. You don't worry about what other people are, how they're positioning themselves.
Awesome. Great advice. All right. Are there any final questions for Terry in our last couple minutes here? I know that he's sending out links, which is awesome, to get in touch or sign up for HoneyBook, which we also recommend, but not required. Any final questions for our business development expert? While we have him on the line, this is valuable time. All right. Sounds like things might be quieting down a little, which is okay. We might have a question come in. Let me see. Okay, cool. All right. Carolyn says, Terry, thanks for showing your level of authenticity and not doing a virtual background of a corner penthouse with marble walls. Listen, we agree, Carolyn. As much as we love the silly backgrounds, got to keep it real.
Yeah, this is my daughter's bedroom, actually. So I took down the unicorn picture, so I'm not being as authentic as I could be.
I was going to say, you got to live up to what you say, keep that unicorn background. So Michaela did have one final question. Do you have any suggestions for lead magnets for videographers or photographers specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it's for that, you would say, how would you help someone prepare for like getting their photo taken? So here's how to prepare: drink plenty of water, don't wear patterns, think about, what setting you want, take examples of pictures you're finding on, online. So, what settings you want, so on and so forth. Be unselfish with the content you're providing to the point they could actually take that and go to someone else, but they could choose you because you're showing that you're the expert, right? So be very unselfish, because your problem is not that you're going to lose someone. It's not that you're not attracting enough people. That's why you have this lead magnet.
Awesome. Great. Well, I think that is probably all the time we have. And a couple questions have come in. Yes, the replay will be available. You can come back to this link if you want it immediately. As soon as we wrap up today, coming back to this link will turn into the replay, so you can come back then. Katie has also just chatted out a link to find the link for this if you forget this one. So you can always head back to the HoneyBook blog to check that out. And we should be sending it out as well. So the replay will be readily available. This was a lot of valuable information. Thank you so much, Terry, for joining us for this. We learned a lot at HoneyBook. I hope all of our attendees learned a lot as well. I can only assume they did because there was so much good stuff in there. And I think we will call it there. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I know this was a packed hour, but we appreciate it. And we hope to see you on future webinars for our Prepare Now, Thrive Later webinar series in the future. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Take care.